if there's not going to be a shot of him in the symbiote.
Oh,
Honestly.
seriously.
Like what's the like what just wake me when you can show me what he looks like in the symbiote.
Just show me the movie. That doesn't matter. I can't watch any of this.
Show me the movie.
All right, you're on. We're on. It's on.
About time.
You know, or have some conversation. I thought that trailer was going to be him talking to the symbiote, because like that's one of my favorite parts of Venom is that the symbiote is a living thing. And you know, like I've always said, the best thing about Venom is that not only does he have a superpower, he has a best friend.
Here's the thing. I was talking to an employee of Rotten Tomatoes this morning in bed after we had watched this video. Yeah. And she said that she's like, yeah, the teasers are getting more like this, where they don't want to show you anything. She's like, look at the Solo teaser. That was during the Super Bowl. Same thing. They don't show you anything.
Yeah, the Solo. No, I mean, you really no charming lines. Lando Calrissian and Han Solo. No charming banter between the. Isn't that the reason why we?
Nope. Saving it. I mean, on the one hand, I'm glad that I don't know what the story is. Too often they give me the story, but give me something. I
just need like not so fast or something. I just want something that shows that they're charming guys who will wittily banter.
You young pirate.
Yeah, whatever.
Also, that Qualcomm story breaking gave me a chance to do a correction for myself. All right, you guys ready?
Yep.
Sure.
Here we go.
The Daily Tech News Show is brought to you by its global listener base, not outside organizations. To find out how you can contribute, go to dailytechnewsshow.com/support.
This is the Daily Tech News for Thursday, February 8th, 2018 from DTNS headquarters in Los Angeles. I'm Tom Merritt.
And from Studio Feline, I'm Sarah Lane.
From the shores of Lake Merritt in Oakland, California, I'm Justin Robert Young.
Don't be confused. The lake and myself have no relation. Also with us today, producer Roger Chang.
Hello, everyone.
We are going to talk about Quincy Jones. We are going to talk about Twitch changing their policies. We are going to talk about Chinese spy sunglasses.
Mm-hmm.
These are all the amazing types of things that we talk about daily on this show. Let's start with a few tech things you should know.
Microsoft Build will happen in Seattle from May 7th through the 9th, which overlaps with Google I/O, which runs May 8th through 10th in San Francisco. Well, Mountain View, but adjacent to San Francisco. Registration for Build will open on February 15th. Google is also holding ticket drawings for I/O on the 15th and February 22nd.
Oh, that's going to be a hard day to cover. Qualcomm's board unanimously has rejected Broadcom's revised buyout offer. Remember, they raised their offer of shares recently. The board of Qualcomm said the offer material undervalues Qualcomm. Qualcomm also said it has offered to meet with Broadcom to see if it can address the deficiencies. So that's a new, slightly more conciliatory move. It may be just dotting I's and crossing T's. And by the way, we previously mistakenly said Broadcom was in the midst of acquiring NXP. It's Qualcomm that is in the midst of acquiring NXP, but that still could be threatened by this acquisition should Broadcom acquire Qualcomm.
Everybody clear? Good. Intel has shipped a new code to PC partners to fix Spectre vulnerabilities for Skylake-based Core or Core M processors. Solutions for Haswell and Broadwell chips are expected, quote, in the coming days.
And some very sad news we found out right after the show yesterday. John Perry Barlow, a founder of the Electronic Foundation, died Wednesday at the age of 71. EFF Executive Director Cindy Cohn shared the news in a blog post. Barlow helped found the EFF in 1990 with Mitch Kapoor and John Gilmore, and he will be missed.
While Europe still investigates Google for antitrust, the Competition Commission of India decided that Google abused its dominance in online search advertising markets, indulging in search bias. So Google has 60 days to pay a 1.36 billion rupee fine, which is equivalent to about $21 million.
It's one of those stories you're like, how is no one reporting on this? 1.36, oh, it's only 20 million. Man. That's like pocket change for Google. Got it.
I'll take it.
Well, let's talk a little more about Twitter. Twitter just had its earnings report, Justin.
Oh, did they, Tom? And you want to know what? Oh, wait a minute. Good news for Twitter?
What?
Oh, my sweet Lord. Twitter just had its first profitable quarter after going public 4 years ago. The company's 2017 Q4 brought in $91 million after losing $167 million in the same quarter the year prior. Here's the good news. Twitter's revenue grew to $732 million, up 2% from $717 million this time in 2016. Monthly users grew by 4% year over year, although flat since Q3, staying at 330 million total, and monthly users declined in the U.S., falling from 69 million to 68 million. You know, great news that they are profitable. You know, this is obviously there's not been a season of fantastic news for Twitter in many, many years. However, you almost wonder whether or not the shift for them in terms of the how much bots and meddling and stuff like that has been in the news, that maybe this is an excuse or a window for them to get a get out of jail free card on the lack of growth, that they can say, look, we're cleaning stuff up. It's not necessarily that we're not growing. We're just fixing some problems we maybe should have fixed before.
Yeah, they are not growing their revenue as fast as maybe people would like, but they have been cutting costs, which could inform why they're slower on responding to things, but they're also bringing in more advertising dollars. So it's a tricky balance, and it's actually kind of hard to read. Anybody who tells you they know where Twitter's going right now, they probably don't know as much as they think they know. But my take on Twitter for a long time has been they don't need user growth the way Facebook does. Facebook relies on absolutely to have engaged users on the platform, sharing things, creating things, putting things around. Twitter just needs people to pay attention to it. The best thing that happened to Twitter was the president using it as its personal mouthpiece, because everybody talks about what was said on Twitter, and not just in relation to the president, but lots of things. Oh, this person said it on Twitter. I see every news story on the BBC every morning practically has a Twitter post in it. So Twitter doesn't need a bunch of users. It needs the right users. It needs the news maker and the news commentator users. And then I think they can sell Twitter because a lot of people will be paying attention to it.
You know, it's funny. The monthly users growing by 4% year over year is, I mean, it's growth, right? But it's not anything I don't know, too dramatic. But Jack Dorsey had said a couple things where it's like, I wonder if it's true. First of all, that switching the feed to an algorithmic feed so that you get stuff at the top that Twitter thinks is most relevant to you, and also expanding the character count from 140 to 280 didn't really change the length of tweets as a rule, but it increased engagement overall. Those are two things that I didn't want. I personally did not want from Twitter. But, you know, it didn't ruin my experience. But is it actually helping people like it more?
Look, the algorithmic feed, like a meddlesome child, should be seen and not heard, right? Like, you should experience a better relationship with the platform, but you should not ever feel like, oh my God, with this, why did you put 3 of the same story like right here? Why can't I have this stuff where I want it? I am positive that there are plenty of times that in the algorithmic feed, I found something I wouldn't found, and I like it and I enjoy it. But oftentimes that's not what I have a problem with. I have a problem with then when it's like, oh, wait, do you like a story about Elon Musk? How about these 90 of the same exact story that's rewritten from the same AP story 4 times in a row? Like, that becomes frustrating.
Well, and that's because you follow a lot of different sources, which you should be free to do, and the algorithm should know when he's like, oh, he follows a lot of news sources, so he likes news. That doesn't mean he likes the same news story over and over and over and over again. Source code for iBoot, which is a core component of the iPhone's operating system, was posted on GitHub, which could help hackers find vulnerabilities in iOS. More likely just make jailbreaks easier. It's the secure boot. It's part of the firmware secure boot. Apple says the code is 3 years old, and it does appear to be largely from iOS 9, though some portions of it are still used with iOS 11. Apple filed a DMCA takedown notice, and the code has been removed from GitHub. There are plenty of others, and Apple makes this clear in their statement about it. There are plenty of other ways that they secure your phone. So it's less likely that someone would find an easy way into your phone with the source code, but definitely jailbreakers, the few of them that are still out there, and they are out there, will probably be able to use this to side load apps and unlock some certain administrative functions. I think the mistake that Apple's making, and they sort of addressed this in their statement too, is that by taking it down with the DMCA notice, now you're leaving it where only the people interested in toying with it are going to see it. You won't have as many eyeballs on it because it's still out there. Once it's out there, it's out there.
Right. Yeah.
And so the bad guys are going to have more of a chance to mess with it than the good guys, which means there's less of a chance of finding a vulnerability before it gets exploited.
I almost wonder how much of that is them protecting their right to put that up in the way that they want.
Oh, yeah. No, it is. They're not open sourcing the code, so they kind of have to. You have a very good point there.
And that's hard.
Sarah's just grimacing.
I'm like, it's unfortunate, right? I mean, this is not something that Apple is happy about. I am curious if this is iOS 9, this particular code, how much of it has changed? Apple's not going to be like,
it seems like most of it.
It's totally different.
From the people who've looked at it, it seems like most of it has changed. There is some of it for iOS 11. I doubt it will lead to a security vulnerability, but it could. It's certainly possible.
Also possible, some facial recognition with sunglasses. According to reports from local media in China, police are testing sunglasses with built-in facial recognition at train stations in Zhengzhou, where they'll be used to scan travelers during the upcoming Lunar New Year migration, which is like one of the biggest ones across the world every year. The sunglasses are controlled by a connected mobile unit, sell for about 3,999 won or $636. Facial recognition is costing extra. LL Vision makes these glasses and says they're able to recognize individuals from a preloaded database of 10,000 suspects of people who, might be doing bad stuff in just 100 milliseconds. But here's levels in no life noise. So, I imagine, all these like policemen walking around, a train station with like these cool sunglasses, just like trying to figure out where the robbers are.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, right? Like they show these sunglasses and man, doesn't she look cool with the cool surveillance sunglasses on? They don't have to be sunglasses. The camera's on the outside. You can see it sitting right there. Yeah. It's just kind of a Google Glass type thing.
Yes. I mean, the bigger question here is what are your expectant rights to privacy when you are walking through a public place and there happens to be a member of law enforcement with an internet connected device that can scan your face and recommend you? And then how much faith do we have as well, how much faith would one have as a Chinese citizen to trust that technology would be correct?
I think
the sunglasses part of it, and I haven't seen them, but it seems like you're drawing more attention to the fact that you would be doing this rather than have, a little something on your lapel or, some CCTV camera up in the corner of the train station that nobody really notices.
Well, yeah, I think you kind of need it on the glasses because then it can show you a display like Google Glass does still being used in the enterprise.
So yeah, like in real time.
Yeah, but it wouldn't have to be sunglasses. I do think that it's going to be hard for a lot of people to separate their opinions about China from their opinions about the story. But if you can successfully do that, there isn't anything inherently wrong with the police using an aid to identify people. I mean, police can just look at someone, and if they are good enough with facial recognition in their brains and have looked through the mugshots, they'll be like, that's the guy, get him, right? A little bit of an aid in that is not inherently wrong. It's how it's used. I don't have a problem with police having these on. The problems all come into what are they used for? How is the data aggregated? Does this mean that they will, start to prejudicially stop people based on the information that's coming up? It's all in what they do with the information. That's where it makes the difference.
Yeah, and you could make an argument that stuff like this could be better, let's say theoretically, if certain people are pulled over a lot, that you could say, well, listen, we ran now, scan my face and see if I am a person of interest. If I am not, then now there's a reason that I need to be let go.
Yeah, it's faster than going back and running the license, right? If you can do accurate facial recognition, and of course you might have missed what Sarah said there, but accuracy levels in real life usage may vary due to environmental noise. I think that's the other problem here is how good are these things?
Well, and especially because it sounds like based on there's
like
going to
what?
be so many people going through train stations, particular places that environmental noise, it's like,
yeah,
kind of noise,
Well, it's visual noise, not audio noise. Yeah. That's a good point.
No, it'll be Groucho Marx glasses. And listen, I'll tell you what. I hope that everybody gets home safely for their Lunar New Year celebration in the next few weeks. Amazon has added Whole Foods grocery delivery to its Prime Now delivery service, allowing Prime customers to order select items and get them delivered within 2 hours. If you live in certain parts of Austin, Dallas, Virginia Beach, or Cincinnati, the Wall Street Journal reports that Amazon plans to expand the service to other markets, but no word on a timeline.
I mean, that's cool if I live in that place, I guess. It's an interesting way of getting around the Instacart integration. They're not changing Whole Foods delivery service. They're changing Amazon's ability to go get something, right? Theoretically, Amazon could work like some grocery delivery services in the past used to work and just go to any grocery store and buy the stuff and add a charge to it. With Whole Foods, they can do that and not add the charge to it because they already own the company.
Amazon Prime and Prime Now already have deals in my area with Sprouts. I don't know if it would be the only Sprouts throughout the country or if there are other grocery chains that have the same idea. That's always been very inefficient in that you would need to buy like $50 worth of something, worth of Sprouts stuff to get it delivered via Prime Now. Whereas I assume they will be a little bit more lenient about what you're able to pick and pack from Whole Foods. But look, there is no doubt that right now there is an element of culture clashing between Amazon and Whole Foods. And if some of these reports on, employees crying and lack of a bankrupt morale because of this new inventory system are to be believed, then what Amazon hopes is that they are able to come out of this in a few years with a radically redesigned Prime food delivery and a more efficient Whole Foods and profitable Whole Foods.
There was always going to be a culture clash. I mean, when somebody like Amazon buys a Whole Foods, the employees are not going to like it. That they are going to genuinely be against it. But having lived in Austin for 6 years, I recall Whole Foods on its own was making its employees cry because of a battle over unionization back in like 1997, 1998. So I'm not surprised that there is a culture clash of some sort, whether employees are crying on a regular basis.
What on earth about the ruthless efficiency of Amazon and writing the thinnest of possible margins to tremendous success would possibly clash with the live and let live Whole Foods?
Yeah. I mean, there's an ideological perspective that Whole Foods sort of encourages in its customers, and I would assume its employees fall into that in some ways is diametrically opposed to Amazon. That's not a shock there.
I go to a local Whole Foods. I've mentioned that before on the show here in my part of town. And yeah, I was very interested to be like, what's going to change? When Amazon takes over, and besides a few little displays here and there, it's pretty much the same. But I've asked a few of the cashiers, like, hey, what do you think? And they're like, it's business as usual.
Yeah. The Whole Foods near me, I went on the day Amazon took over, on the day it closed. They had no sign that anything had changed. Other stores around the country were like putting up, Amazon Echo displays and stuff. This one, they were like pretending nothing had happened.
I mean, you definitely see the Amazon name around, but it sounds like, unless there's something they're not telling me, that for the most part, it's like, big grocery store. Selling you stuff.
I also had some questions about that crying in the back room story. Just it felt very narrative driven that it's like, of course, big mean Amazon making flower children cry. I'm not saying it's not true. I wonder whether or not it is
representative.
Representative.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, that's the kind of story that happens. The
yeah.
reason I brought up the unionization fight in Austin in the 90s is because a girl I was dating was crying about it. And I don't know that she was representative of the, I wouldn't say that all the employees were crying about it, but it's the kind of thing where like, yeah, extreme change can affect people and make them emotional. So WhatsApp began testing a new payments feature in India that will let people send money to each other though it excludes merchant accounts. This is a Venmo type system for you U.S. listeners, not a point of sale system. New features take advantage of India's unified payments interface, so it's supported by a large number of banks. This puts WhatsApp now in competition with Google's Tez, which we've mentioned on the show before, and Tencent's Hike, which operates in India, and India's very popular Paytm, which I believe we've mentioned either here or on Daily Tech Headlines, has gone from just being a payments app to also including messaging. So it went after WhatsApp before WhatsApp went after it. India is WhatsApp's largest market with over 200 million users active daily, and WhatsApp will let users know when the payments feature is more widely available. But this is the country where there had to be a storage change made by Google to Android in order to handle good morning messages, because everyone sends each other good morning messages. I mean, WhatsApp getting into payments is huge in this country for people who just want to pay each other back or buy stuff directly from one another.
Certainly so. This payments as, chat as a platform and payments in general have obviously been gigantic growth areas over the past 5 years, but it's so interesting to see where they have settled, and the idea of India and China and Asia specifically of really having been the birthplace of this, and we've seen elements of it here in America, but it hasn't exactly, a chatomania has not run quite as wild over America as I think it would have been projected to 5 years ago.
When Facebook Messenger started allowing us the ability to send each other money, I was like, that might be good. No, I specifically use financial apps for these purposes.
Yes.
Somehow it's just like not, even though it's convenient, it's like doesn't register to me that it could all be done in one place.
I wonder if we had an app like WhatsApp that was as dominant here as it is in India, if that would change. Because if you're in the app all the time, and this is kind of what Apple was trying to do with putting Apple Pay in Messenger, but not everybody uses Apple, so that's not going to work. But if you're in the app all the time and that's always where you're talking to people, it makes sense to sit down and say like, oh, hey, let me pay you here. I was with my cousin who is much younger than me, and she was like, do you Venmo? And I'm like, I think old man Merrit has a Venmo. Hold on. She's like, never mind, I'll just pay through Apple Pay. But if everybody used WhatsApp, that conversation becomes real simple.
Well, and I think what's interesting in America is that financial transactions kind of fall into this weird Goldilocks zone of like, I don't necessarily want to do it through my bank because I don't think my bank is going to either, it's going to be a hassle to set up and I'm going to have to explain to somebody else to get a new thing. And I don't necessarily trust the chat app because I'll probably have to set something up. Like we have these very specific Goldilocks zones of like PayPal and Venmo where it's like, all right, here's a place. I put a little money. I know that it's there. It goes back and forth. It's just that little slush between friends. But, as we move this same $25 around for, dinner, drinks, and bar bets.
And Beef points out most people in North America have access to a bank account, which is also another difference.
And I think also, and this is just like my own paranoia, there's something about chatting about possibly personal things in the same place as money being exchanged makes me feel uneasy. I use Venmo all the time, but like I don't want to chat with anybody on Venmo.
You don't Venmo where you eat.
Right.
Part of that might be cultural. One thing my parents have noted a long time ago is that generally in the U.S. it's impolite to talk about money in discussions, even though in many cultures it's completely normal. Talk about how much you make, which like it's or like just doing like things with money that most people would consider crass, and so there might be a cultural barrier to that, and then people therefore well this is my financial app, this is my social networking app. You want these silos because you're more comfortable that way.
That's true. That's true. Twitch updated its community guidelines to say that any hateful conduct will result in immediate, indefinite suspension. Twitch will also take into account offside actions when enforcing harassment and hateful content guidelines. Victims are going to have to let Twitch know this is happening, but the idea is that if somebody's harassing you off of Twitch to avoid enforcement, they might still get suspended on Twitch anyway, if you can, make a good enough case. Twitch also says its moderators will pay more attention to the context and intent of words, not just the words used. The changes go into effect Monday, February 19th at 9 a.m. Pacific time.
It's similar to the sunglasses conversation. This is one where it all depends on how it's implemented. Twitch is trying to say, we aren't going to go out looking for actions, but if you're being harassed and they stop doing it on Twitch, but they're still doing it somewhere else, send us what they're doing. If we can verify it, then we'll take action on it. So they can't just switch to YouTube and start harassing you there, or Twitter or something like that. It's direct messaging or WhatsApp or something like that that's not independently verifiable. That's something that they may or may not be able to take action. But it's an interesting way to try to handle people who just want to do nasty things and stop them from finding a loophole for it.
It's Twitch giving themselves more tools. For enforcement, and by that token taking on more responsibility, which I think is a very interesting philosophical path to walk, because it is something that we have seen. It has frustrated a lot of people on other platforms, including YouTube and Twitter specifically, where there seems to be an arm's length between, hey, we were making these things, but we got to stay within the rules here, and we investigated and it didn't happen. So it's interesting. I wife works for Twitch, so that's out in the open. But I haven't talked to anybody there specifically about this. I do get the sense that right now, the only two things that people write about when it comes to Twitch are, hey, look at this cool thing that's happening, and hey, look at this awful community. And they desperately want more of the former and less of the latter. And this is a step taken to try and reduce that.
Yeah, taking into account context and intent, I think, is an interesting feat to try to achieve. Folks, if you want to get all the tech headlines each day in about 5 minutes, be sure to subscribe to Daily Tech Headlines, available on the Amazon Echo, Google Home, Anchor app, and as a podcast. You can find the info at dailytechheadlines.com. Let's check and see if we've got a thing of the day. Do we, Sarah?
We do. Vulture published an interview with Quincy Jones. Probably heard of him. Became a big sort of hot thing on social media. Everybody I know was like, this is the best article. You got to read it. And Justin Robert Young pointed out to us earlier today that not only is Quincy Jones pretty cool, but it contains a few choice tidbits on some tech titans that you're familiar with.
Tech angle!
For example, remarking on how people didn't know Woodstock would end up being such an iconic thing. Quincy said, those festivals ain't my thing. Elon Musk keeps trying to get me to go to Burning Man. No, thank you. Which is, I hear you.
Didn't change my opinion of Elon Musk at all to hear this. I can absolutely see it. The fact that it happens, that he says it happens, is entertaining to me. But after having read it, I was like,
oh no, yeah. There's no doubt that
of course he does.
Constantly pesters all of his friends who don't go to Burning Man to go to Burning Man.
When asked if there were any rock musicians that Quincy thought were good, Jones mentioned Cream, Eric Clapton's band, then said, but you know who sings and plays just like Hendrix? The interviewer said, who? Quincy Jones said, Paul Allen. The interviewer says, stop it, the Microsoft guy? Quincy Jones says, yeah, man, I went on a trip on his yacht. He had David Crosby, Joe Walsh, Son Lennon, all those crazy MFers. Then on the last 2 days, Steve Wonder came on with his band and made Paul come up and play with him. He's good, man.
I mean, didn't Paul Allen have the...
He had the band, yeah.
The Rock Museum in Seattle?
Well, yes, he launched the Experience Music Project while he owned Tech TV, which is why we covered it so extensively. But yeah, and it's an homage to Jimi Hendrix and music in general, but he's also been in a band for a long time. And apparently Quincy Jones thinks he can play. Why hasn't he put out a record?
Paul Allen shreds. We now know this. Thank you, Quincy Jones. And finally, does Quincy Jones see a future for the music business? He says, there isn't a music business anymore. If these people had paid attention to Sean Fanning 20 years ago, we wouldn't be in this mess. But the music business is still too full of these old school bean counters. You can't be like that. You can't be one of these back in my day people. He said literally right before he told a story about John Coltrane. But he makes a good point. Look, Sean Fanning certainly pointed out a glaring deficiency. I mean, if we're gonna look at that iBoot story, right, and question whether or not this should be something that Apple should view as a good thing, because it allows the good white hat security infosec researchers to point out that there's a major hole, then he's saying, look, 20 years ago, we had a gigantic hole in this industry pointed out for us, and we decided as a music industry to turn our head and just rail against the dying of the light.
Yeah, this is one of the most substantive things tech-wise that he said in this interview, because he is someone who has been essential to the success of the music industry. And he's like, no, man, Sean Fanning had a point. Come on. So,
yeah.
Well, thanks to everybody who participates in our subreddit. You can submit stories and vote on them at dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com and join in the conversation at facebook.com/groups/Daily Tech News Show. Before we leave, though, we have to check the mailbag, Sarah.
Yes, we do. This one comes from Ron, who said, if you didn't watch the show yesterday, Patrick Norton joined us. And he said, Patrick did a really good job covering a lot of facts about audio in a short period of time. I'm sure there are going to be people who disagree with some facts. These are audio files after all. And since DTNS often revisits topics based on user feedback, I hope you can work out a way he could reply to folks who might have questions or other info. It'd be great if DTNS Labs could have him and others on for in-depth looks on good quality audio and other topics. I'd also like to know what he thinks about consumer audio products that have been THX certified.
That is a great idea, and I've been emailing back and forth with Patrick all day. We're going to put together a DTNS Labs and go deep into audio. And Patrick even, what did he say? He suggested maybe talking about, the first step to stepping up the awesomeness of your audio. We'll talk about that. So look for a DTNS Lab soon.
And if you have other ideas for themed lab shows, we'd love to hear them.
Send them our way.
Thank you to Justin Robert Young for joining us every Thursday. How you doing? What's been going on?
Man, you know what? Thank you to everybody for listening, and of course to you guys for having me on every week. But when I'm not talking about tech, I am talking about politics, usually on my show, Politics. So a couple things real quick. If you are in the Bay Area, we have very, very, very few tickets left for the March 1st live Politics. You can get that a ticket for you, and we're talking like into single digits here, people. Head on over to pianofight.com. Look for the show on March 1st at 7 p.m. It is the Sex Scandal Brackets. We are going to break down 16 of the most ridiculous sex scandals in American political history, and you, the audience, will help us narrow it down until we find the best. So go ahead and check that out. And in general, if you want all the headlines of the day, comes out about lunchtime on the East Coast, you can sign up for my free political newsletter that is at tinyletter.com/Justin Robert Young.
Of course, we still need more people in the pool here at patreon.com/DTNS to get us to that monthly goal of getting at least one more patron than last year. We're down a few over last month right now, so if you're on the fence, get off the fence and get in to patreon.com/DTNS. We've also got all kinds of new things in the DTNS store, including things with the new logo, as well as things with the old logo. Doesn't matter which one you like. You can get something with one or the other on them. T-shirts and hoodies with new color options. There's a tropical blue T-shirt. There's some V-neck options now. Also, the return of the DTNS flask and DTNS stickers, decals for your laptop. It's all there at dailytechnewsshow.com/store.
Our email address is feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. We're live Monday through Friday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 2130 UTC at alphageekradio.com and diamondclub.tv. And our website is dailytechnewsshow.com.
We will be back tomorrow with Shannon Morse and Len Peralta. Talk to you then.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Get more at frogpants.com.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
Excellent show, my friends. I saw a couple people in the chat room were very pleased that we talked about the Quincy Jones interview.
I mean, look, it's simply the greatest interview of all time.
He's a national treasure. And this interview is also a national treasure.
Yeah.
These are the sorts of things where it got shared so much yesterday that I was like, I'll read it, never. But I'm glad that it came up again, because then I did read it because I knew we were going to talk about it on the show. And yeah, it was pretty cool.
Oh, well, I admitted to Justin on his stream earlier today, if it hadn't been for some of the crazy stuff that I was hearing from Justin about this interview, I probably wouldn't have read it. And I'm glad I did, because there's a lot of substantive stuff about music and music history in there that's absolutely worth reading.
Oh, I mean, there are a few people on Earth that have the kind of legacy knowledge of not only music, but popular music. And from Frank Sinatra to Michael Jackson to film scores and stuff like that. Like, that dude has done it. And is he a bit of a crazy person? Sure. What master of their craft isn't kind of a
exactly
person? Is he full of quirks of his era, like being proud of Sam Smith because he's proud of being gay?
It's a sweet version of an old man.
Yeah. Sure.
Statement.
But man, when the first question leads you to say that Michael Jackson was a drug-addled plagiarist, and then you almost effortlessly seg into the fact that you know who killed Kennedy, confirming the conspiracy that Kennedy was elected in part because of the Chicago mob. Like, wow. And that's before we get into him.
Yeah. Come for that stuff.
Yeah.
Stay for the knowledge about Coltrane and how he composed his music and all the other good stuff in there too.
And then also the effortless segue from Brazilian music to who Marlon.
All right.
You know, but that's what makes it entertaining. I mean, really.
Oh God, no. There was a tweet. Let me see if I can.
What are we calling this episode, by the way?
So I wear my sunglasses at night so I can recognize you. Twitter's earnings are finally tweet-worthy.
Hashtag profitable is pretty funny.
Paul Allen shreds.
Paul Allen shreds.
Chat Mania has not run wild on US. Do you Venmo where you eat? Hashtag profitable.
The only thing about that is, I don't know. It looks almost like an ad or something. You know, like for a headline.
Because hashtags are always ads these days.
Well, not really, but profitable.
I mean, they often, yeah. I think I pick it up what you're saying.
By the way, there's now just Quincy Jones memes are just all over Twitter now of like other revelations that Quincy Jones will randomly drop into conversation. I can't. This is a family-friendly broadcast, so I cannot read half of them.
I wear my sunglasses at night so I can recognize you. Because the police.
Yeah, it's super long. That's my only.
All right. How about just say, sunglasses watching you.
Paul Allen shreds.
Yeah, fine. Paul Allen shreds.
Paul Allen shreds is pretty good.
All right, it's the motion is carried. Paul Allen shreds.
Oh, wait, his band was called Grown Men or something like that.
That's right. I was trying to remember that.
That's what was weird about his band. Just Grown Men. I thought it was like the weirdest thing. He also likes scuba diving for some reason.
Tell you what, that's why he goes out on his yacht and brings on a bunch of people so they can all scuba dive together.
He also liked buying TV networks until he didn't.
Yeah. Well, he's slightly Asperger's, so when you're on his boat, he controls everything, right?
That's not nice to say about people.
Yeah. Hey.
Oh no. I mean, I'm not in a negative way, but like,
yeah,
he's working on his comfort level, not necessarily other people's. I don't know. Some people might find it.
Here's a Quincy Jones meme. Do you want regular or sweet potato fries with that? Quincy Jones. You know who else likes sweet potato fries? Who? Quincy Jones. Paul Newman had some of them MFers right after he killed a man. He was the Zodiac, my brother.
Wait, what?
Quincy Jones. Regular fries.
Yeah.
Wait.
That really is the tone of that interview, though.
The phrase he was
Like, wait, is he just? I'm wondering if he's just doing a lot of it tongue in cheek, or is he just?
Have you read the interview, Roger?
No, I have.
You got to read. You got to read the interview. You got to read the interview.
Yeah, this is a meme. These are all memes that people wrote.
Oh, that's a meme. Oh, I thought it was.
Yeah.
I was like, Paul Newman, the Zodiac.
Yeah. So I was like, wait a minute, what?
Yeah, no, he didn't actually say that.
Okay.
No, this is a meme.
It's like the Chuck Norris thing,
Right.
Got it.
You know, it's just, it gets more ridiculous over time, and then someone gets a book deal.
I'm just reading one.
The "you want fries with that" is the perfect. No, it's like super innocuous question that just goes off the rails.
I'm not even going to read the first part of this meme, but it just ends with Michael Bolton did 9/11.
Oh my god,
That's not even funny.
That's
It's
not
just
funny.
kinda
Yeah.
weird.
It's
Oh,
extreme.
the Zodiac Killer. I'm sorry that we draw the line from the Zodiac Killer to Michael Bolton.
Well, you know what? During the time of the Zodiac Killer, when my dad was had an apartment building in San Francisco, one of the tenants asked him to put up like all sorts of security gating in the back door.
Sure,
She was
that
scared.
makes sense. I would probably have asked for that too.
All right, I can't look at any of these memes. They're just like I'm crying, laughing, and trying not to talk about them.
Crying your tears.
No, but great. Oh, and also we didn't get his plug-in Quest TV. He's
Oh right, darn it.
launching a new.
I'm actually. I mean, as much as it's so out of tone when they get to the plug for Quest TV at the end of that article, that I want to be dismissive about it. It actually looks pretty interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think he definitely doesn't really know much about it beyond probably like whatever.
Oh no, Quincy Jones has almost nothing to do with the actual product, I'm sure, other than maybe saying like that's a real good documentary, right?
Yeah.
That one gets it right. But yeah,
it seems right now to be it's in beta, but it's a service where you can not only stream jazz music but also has a bunch of jazz documentaries and stuff like that. So for
yeah, it's video on demand for jazz, and then it has music element too, not just video. It's kind of hard to explain. It's kind of brilliant, actually, from a certain point of view. Oh,
Cert.
You know who Ray's mother is? I'll tell you who's Ray's parents are. Quincy Jones knows.
He knows notes and he knows things.
He also had children with Norma Jennings from the Double R Diner in Twin Peaks. Peggy Lipton.
Wait,
See, I don't watch Twin
which
Peaks
one?
either.
Which is she? She's not Rashida's mother, is she?
She is.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that was that.
Yeah.
How did I never put that together?
Well, I don't know. I've got all the Twin Peaks facts.
Yeah.
I'll just keep lobbing them at you guys.
and apparently the daughter that was friends with Ivanka.
Friends with a
and she was the mother of Norma from Twin Peaks was the mother of the other daughter that's not Rashida, who was friends with Ivanka, which is in the interview.
Okay. All right. A lot of layers.
Yeah, I know.
A lot of layers here.
I get in trouble for leaving those sorts of things out with my editors. Like, isn't it obvious?
Also, big shout out to the Cleveland Cavaliers for trading away their entire team today.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like everybody's gone. Like 14 players off the team got traded today.
So is Len for sure going to be on the show tomorrow then? Like, or will he just be crying?
They traded everybody, including Dwayne Wade, back to Miami. Welcome back.
It's been so long since he went away.
2 years, or a year and a half, I guess, of this bizarre world where Dwayne Wade was not wearing a Heat jersey.
LeBron didn't get traded away though, right?
No, he's going to do that the old-fashioned way during the offseason.
Nobody trades LeBron.
I mean, to be honest, if they're going to trade the rest of their team and really not get anybody back, they might as well have traded LeBron to literally get anything back for him.
Yeah, he can't be pleased with that, I'm sure.
Well, the rumors are that he has 1 foot out the door already.
Oh, and this was sort of the idea was, well, you're not going to stay. We'll just trade everybody off.
He's not being consulted. Apparently what he wanted was they have one really, really, really good unprotected pick that they got in the Kyrie Irving trade. And he wanted them to not only move some pieces around on the team now, but also to land another big player to beef up for a run in the playoffs this year. Not only does that not look like it's happening, but literally everybody else on the team, they're going to have to gel a new team and hope it's better than the one they have.
Well, it does. I mean, I'm sure this is not what's going on, but if you trade enough people away, you move salary. Does that allow them to sign somebody?
If he were to stay, yes. It does not seem that there is a environment being created.
I see.
For him, it looks as if the Cavaliers are getting a kickstart on rebuilding.
Well, now I understand why I like Rashida Jones so much. I'm glad you've.
All makes sense.
I'm glad you've
It's Norma
revealed this, because Norma and Quincy Jones, like, this is a super person.
Yeah, and Rashida is just great too.
She is. She's fantastic. She's one of my favorite actors.
Mine too.
Angie Tribeca is amazing.
Yeah. Anything? Final things you want to leave the YouTube stream with?
No, other than don't forget to turn off the Twitch stream, which I'm going to do right
turn
now.
off the Twitch stream.
Don't forget.
That's done. And now we can say goodbye to everyone else.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.